bet I felt it. I tried to beat you, but you're so hot that I melted. I fell right through the cracks. Now I'm trying to get back. Before the cool done run out, I'll be giving it my bestest, and nothing's gonna stop me but divine intervention. I reckon it's again my turn to win some or learn some, but I won't hesitate no more, no more. It cannot wait. I'm yours.
Hello, beautiful souls. Oh my gosh, right when I looked down, it was 111. I always say I can't make this shit up, but honestly, I couldn't. And why would I want to? So welcome, blessed souls. So whenever you watch this, it's timeless, of course, but in real time, for me, it is November 12th, 2021. Yesterday was such a beautiful day from beginning to end. And, you know, I really just like to go with the flow of the energy. And I didn't feel any pulls to do any readings for the 1111 portal. I just wasn't feeling that. I was feeling more of just being with my beloved. So for those of you who are new here, thank you for subscribing. Thank you for being a part of this tribe. Welcome, welcome, welcome. And for those of you who've been here for a minute, you know a lot about my history with my husband. I like to call him husband instead of husband. It's kind of cute. But a year ago, yesterday on 11/11/2020, Edward and I went into the woods and had this amazing, prolific, magical, magnificent, witchy experience of a hand fasting. And we stuck to the traditional outline, which is that now all cultures are different, but the one that we were drawn to was to betroth ourselves to each other. And it was more like we were married and we were calling each other husband and wife and stuff. But also with the hand fasting, it's more like an engagement. And you let that whole year play out together. And if at the end of the year you realize that this is not the right person for you, then you can say, I don't want to, move on, yada, yada, yada. So Edward and I have been through a lot over the last several months. And, I call him my psychedelic shaman. And those of you who are familiar with Ram Dass know who that beautiful face is in front of you in that beautiful documentary called Becoming Nobody. And, we all go and get the medicine differently. We celebrate the medicine differently. We take and experience and heal with the medicine differently. The medicine is just a large word, label, what have you, for our spiritual process through our awakening and through our healing energetic, pulling us out of the old energy and into the new. So Edward and I, the last few months, it was really tense for us. And so this last week, we spent a lot of time together and checked in with each other each day to see how we were doing. And the night before, or I should say, not the night before, was it the night before? No, it was the night before that. So I guess it would have been on the night of the 9th. We had a kind of come to Jesus, if you will, moment. And I said, we need to really think about like what we want and, blah, 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 blah. So we don't have Netflix or any of that stuff. We don't have cable. We are very blessed to have a library near us. And so we utilize the library for our education and our entertainment purposes. Most of the pandemic, the libraries were closed. You can order things, but then you would have to like walk into the vestibule of the library and they had everything on hold, under your name, you give them your card and then they grab your stuff. Well, in recent months, they opened up the library again, and I didn't realize how much I missed the experience of just perusing. and this was in the return cart. I had absolutely, positively no idea what it was. I didn't even really look at it that long, but listen to this. So I watched Game of Thrones pretty religiously while it was going on. Again, I didn't have cable, so a lot of times I watched it the following year once it came out to the library. But in the last several months, Edward and I were called to watch the Game of Thrones series all over again. But to watch it, in succession, just like keep watching it. I think that's how you say it, right? Just watching it straight through. We took a few breaks here and there because it's pretty intense. By the way, when I looked down, it was 555. So if that means anything to you and you're drawn to that, please go look up 555 angel number and read whichever one you're drawn to. Anyway, so one of the characters in Game of Thrones, Arya Stark, she starts training with these shamans, basically. That's, I guess, what you would call them, of her time in that place in this story. And it's all about your nobody. So when I saw the title, Becoming Nobody, I was like, oh, that's so interesting. And so I grabbed it. It wasn't until I got in the car that Ed's like, oh, wow. He's like, that's Ram, I hope I'm saying it right, Ram Dass. And so he started telling me, he's like the psychedelic guy, king or whatever. I don't remember his words, but he was just really excited to watch it. Well, we've had it for quite some time. In fact, I think I've renewed it. And this is one of those things that's like 3 weeks you can take it out. So we've had it for a while. And we have a lot of things that Spirit draws us to. And sometimes we'll just know what to watch. Sometimes we do behind the back and have fun like that. Or sometimes we say, should we let Penji, decide which is our higher selves? We use the pendulum. So after we had this last little like, you know what? I'm not sure if I want to be with you. He's like, I'm not sure if I want to be with you. I'm like, all right. So we decided the next day to just kind of like work through that energy. And then this came to us. Oh my goodness. This beautiful soul, this silly, funny, witty, human, angel entity. I don't know. I would never speak for them or put a label on them, but Ram Dass is like just amazing. And the interesting thing was, when it first started, I was not feeling them at all. I was just not into their energy. I was like, I don't know. But as it went on, I realized that it was that part of me that was like with Ed, that was also that with Ram Dass, which was that I'm fine. I don't need to learn anything. I'm, my ego. And becoming nobody reminds us how beautiful we are, how special we are, how love-filled, love-based we are. But at the end of the day, we're nobody because we're all the same. I am you, you are me. And that is something that I think people may not understand until they get to that point where they're facing themselves, they're facing their darkness. Edward is my quote-unquote twin flame. Absolutely. We mirror each other. We have similar backgrounds, similar past loves, past friends, just similarities, just so many similarities. We mirror each other. He's even a Gemini and I'm a Sag, right? We're like the polar opposite. We're the yin and yang of each other. He was born on Sunday. I was born on Monday, sun and the moon. We just started to see like so many things and how much we are a reflection of each other and how love and hope are really the only thing there is. And I asked Spirit, I was fully prepared to take those decks out of the background, but they said no, because look at that deck to the left, the making magic, right? We are here to make magic. We are here to be human, to fuck up, to go through different stages of emotions, of energies. And then to the right, I love that Ram Dass, even though they're looking off into the distance to the right, the deck that was there as the answer is simple. It's just love and hope. Fear is programming. It's not real. It doesn't exist. It only exists if you give it life, if you give it energy. So below the hope is the white light oracle deck. I'm not sure exactly when I will be doing that, but I am definitely called to do a pick-a-pile reading with that deck. Edward and I pulled cards from that yesterday, and it was sublime. I mean, it was sublime. It just gave us so much. It told us so much. We just had such a beautiful day of love, because watching Becoming Nobody on the 10th, the night before the 11/11 portal, was just the greatest gift. I mean, honestly, and so I'm getting emotional because when I was setting this up, Ram Dass came through. When we were watching it, I was like, I don't think he's with us anymore. It looked very modern, but I was like, I don't think they're with us anymore. And then we looked and it said 2019. And then we started to research more about Ram Dass and their journey. And sure enough, they had passed. And I thought it was interesting because they passed shortly after winter solstice 2019. So they shot it in 2019 and he died shortly after, as a very elderly man. And he just brought so much love and hope. And this documentary is based on their journey with psychedelics. They were actually a professor at Harvard and were asked to work with psychedelics as an experiment, but then they were fired. Hence, when they gave psychedelics to their students, because they realized like what it was, and it was a gateway drug for sure, but a beautiful gateway drug to the mind, and right now the world is sick. The planet is sick in some ways. The energy of the human condition is sick because everyone is healing. My whole body's shaking, by the way. It's like I can barely talk. I'm like channeling so much energy. The white light is always there within us. That's what hope and love is. But we need the darkness. That's why the Making Magic wanted to stay there in the black, in the dark, because that's what the shadow is. Even the imagery of Ram Dass's face is like almost ghost-like, right? With light on his face and shadow at his back. I don't want to say too much about it. I highly recommend you watch it. If you smoke cannabis, I highly recommend you have some. If wine or alcohol that's healthy and organic is your spirit medicine, or if you want to channel a meditation. But I know for myself, like Edward and I, we had some cannabis before we started it, and it was just, I just felt more free in my body and my mind and my soul. And I almost felt as if we have different strains of cannabis. And again, I let, my pendulum decide. It's my higher self, like helping me, bring the best optimum, the best culmination of things to receive the optimum result. And it was just a really prophetic experience. And I think it's beautiful too that Edward, his whole, like, he just feels with every fiber of his being how I feel, like how I do this for you guys. I just know with every fiber of my being, I'm meant to do this, It's the same for him with psychedelics. They've healed him on multiple levels. He's watched how it's healed others. He's seen the effects of him helping others with psychedelics. It's just a really beautiful tool and a beautiful medicine. It helps expand our mind to a much bigger place. There's a reason why these things were illegal. They were illegal because they don't want us to expand our mind. Alcohol is a natural depressant for most people. You may be somebody that you're just a jolly, jolly, happy soul. That's lovely. I love that. But not all people are like that. And a lot of empaths, if you're taking medications, over the counter, synthetic medications, I urge you to please research, look into ulterior methods, because there really are a lot of natural medicines. I am here to tell you, I have been on so many, I won't call them medicine. I was on so many pharmaceuticals because it was uncomfortable for my friends and my family and my workplace for several years, several decades. I'm 49 now. I'm going to be turning 50 a month from tomorrow, which is really exciting. So you can only imagine how much I'm going through in terms of my own stuff, right? Like beyond what's happening on the planet. But I have so much of my own things, half a century. Wow, that's really interesting. Like, that's awesome. But not having too much of an attachment to it either. I may not make it that far. This may be the last transmission I ever do, the attachment. I said something to Edward recently where I said, I cried and I'm like, I can't be in this fucking tiny home for my 50th birthday. Like, we have to be in a house. Like, that was one thing I said. Then another thing I said was, well, if we are still living in here, I'm like, then we are going on vacation because I am not spending my 50th birthday there. I'm not, putting all these conditions and these fear-based things on Ed too, like, if it's not gonna be perfect, like, what's gonna happen. And it's just bullshit. It's just all fucking programming. I should be so lucky to wake up in my own bed on my 50th birthday to say, look at that, holy shit, I lived to be 50 fucking years old. And in these 50 years, because the truth is we're born and then we turn 1 year old, so I am in my 50th year. Right? I'm actually going into my 51st year, which, if you think of it that way, is really exciting because it's the number 6. And what is next year? 2022, the number 6. I'm so energetically aligned. If you look at your chart, if you follow the moons, if you follow the energy, you follow the planets, the stars, the universal solar system, these teachings from the humans, from the outer galactic, from these oracle cards, from crystals, stones, all these messages, the signs, they're in everything. You look down at your food. I took pictures yesterday I was cutting up tomatoes and cabbage, and just the sacred geometry that's in food is just unbelievable. And this movie highlights that. This documentary highlights a life of somebody that was the groundbreaker, who walked this path before us, who walked through all of those years, because they died, I think, at 88 or almost 90, somewhere in there. Okay, so imagine that. Imagine being born in 1931 after a major First World War. Then he saw a Second World War, right? He saw the Korean War, he saw Vietnam. And this is why, because he was a quote unquote hippie, but no, he was a fucking guru, and he studied in India with a guru. They talk about that. It's really beautiful. And it's about the love and the hope and staying in the white light. Also, yesterday, this was on my tea, and I was divinely drawn to this tea. So this was our message for 11/11. One who brings happiness to others will find it. One who brings happiness to others will find it. The most beautiful part about this documentary is that it is produced, directed, all of this by Jamie, I think it's Catto, Catto, or Catto, however they pronounce their name. And like Ram Dass was their guru, and to see them honor their own guru, it's just beautiful. I mean, the whole thing, like, it's just so emotional. It's a beautiful film. I highly, highly, highly recommend it. It's interesting also, I've been working on a lot of vision boards and things like that, and little pieces have been falling here and there. I find things. And just now, right before we started, this came out. Common Ground. And they talk about that. They talk about that, about having common ground, Also, one of the other readers that I love, Dee, from unconscious, I can never remember if it's consciousness evolution. I think it's consciousness evolution or unconscious evolution. Anyway, but they were just talking about that, how they had an experience with somebody that they didn't have much in common. They were literally on one side of the spectrum to the other side of the spectrum, but somehow they found this common ground with each other, this beautiful common ground of humanity. And she said, I'm sure I didn't change their mind, just like they didn't change my mind. But she said the one thing that we can agree on was love and hope, and about, making things better. I'm paraphrasing. And that's basically what Ram Dass was trying to say, and their guru, and many gurus. And there are many light workers like us all over the planet right now. We are in human form. So a lot of us, what is that old saying where, the most powerful leaders are the ones who went there first? And that's where we are now. A lot of us leaders, if you're on this channel, if you subscribe to this channel and you're part of this tribe, you are a leader. It doesn't matter if you're the leader of your family, the leader of, a country, it doesn't matter. But you were born to lead, which means that you lead by example. You go there first. Edward and I, we've been talking about that. It's like we've been through a lot, but we didn't go through all of that to just stop now or give up now, right? No, we didn't just, decide, okay, okay, you know what? I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to turn away from the light. Like, I know what I'm supposed to do, but it's like, no, because once you get to a certain point and you awaken further and further, and your awakening deepens further and further and further, it's really difficult to go back to any type of quote unquote normal. And recently I was blessed to have a session with one of our tribe members, and we were talking about how, going back to how their children going back to school, and just like, just the process of like what's been going on over the last few months, and how they were like, well, I couldn't wait, until they went back to school so I can get my life back, because they also have their own business and they have a husband and family, it's a lot. And they said, but I I don't feel better, and I'm not, and we talked about that. I'm like, yeah, because they're just like, okay, go back to normal, everybody, flip a switch. And people are like, yeah, no. People are seeing their awareness is deepening. They see beyond the veil now. They understand there is an alternative. We don't have to live in this prison. I was watching, gosh, I don't know which season it was, but on Game of Thrones, where one of the characters said something like, well, we can't do that because we've been doing that, X, Y, and Z for thousands of years, and we can't do that. And they're like, of course we can. Like, we're the, like, royalty. Like, we could do whatever the fuck we want. Like, new rules. And it was the way they said it, like, very cavalier like that, right? And they're like, but the peasants are like, well, fuck the peasants. Like, who cares? Like, they're just going to have to deal with it. Like, that's just, how it goes. And most of the time when it's like that, we, the people who are suffering, it's because the 1% or whatever you want to call them, the elite, the people who are dying to be in this elitism, that's not real, by the way, right? It's all man-made. It's all about death and greed and sacrifice, but they don't care who they sacrifice. One of the episodes, they sacrifice a child. And when one of the persons that loved the child confronted them, they're like, what the fuck? They're like, what God, whatever God you believe in that would sacrifice a child is like fucked, basically, is what they said. And they're like, I was wrong. And he's like, you were wrong. He's like, you fucking you killed a child. You killed a child. And oh, you were wrong? He's like, that's all you have to say? Like, what the fuck? And that's what it is. It's like, we can't be careless with our magic and make major decisions that will affect, everything we do has a ripple effect. Every single solitary thing we do has a ripple effect. And I don't know about you, but before the 11/11 portal, I was feeling a weight and a heaviness that I was like, I almost couldn't breathe. I had said to Ed, I'm like, I think it's better for both of us, man. I'm like, let's just at least just go to our own corners and go breathe for a while. But our energies and our higher selves and the ancestors were like, no, because that's what we would do. In the past, we would run. We cannot run any longer, any of us. We can't run away from ourselves. It's literally the most beautiful thing my sister ever said to me was when I was going through a rough time, and I was like, maybe I should just move, maybe, and I'd already been doing that for a while. And she just said, you can't run away from yourself. No matter where you go, you're going to be there. So you can go to a new town and a new place and new faces and new friends or whatever, but you're still going to show up, right? And what she meant by that was like, until you heal that, you're still going to be there. That pain, that suffering. Most things are temporary, right? You have a shitty fucking day. You're like, oh, I'm going to go get a nice bottle of wine, blah, blah, blah. You go home. Yeah, you feel good. Then you wake up the next morning, you kind of feel shitty again because now you feel physically shitty. Before you felt mentally, maybe emotionally shitty. Now you feel physically shitty because you're hungover and your body's achy and you're tired, right? And then we just get back on the fucking hamster wheel. Well, I know for myself, I was like, I can't do that anymore. That's why I came to this existence, to live in this tiny home, to live with this small overhead. Edward and I knew when we met each other, we talked about that. I was like, we met each other. We were in like the best place we'd ever been in our lives up to that point, like spiritually, emotionally, mentally. But, however, that was also a beautiful innocence about us that thought that was it. Like, we had so much more to go, right? We had so much further, like, to deal with the ego, our shadow, and that's what we've been doing. And we will continue to do that. Yesterday together, we both had visions together of our lives together, and we knew, and it was beautiful. And we had a ceremony. It was beautiful. We renewed our vows. This time is the real deal, and it's exciting, and this is starting fresh and starting new. Like, nothing that happened before this matters, because it's only from this moment moving forward that matters. Sure, you need to go to the past to deal with things, right? Or, of course, something's going to come up and you're going to be like, wow, that reminds me of my childhood, whatever. But it's how we react to it, and it's how we use it and utilize it. Sometimes you have to stay in that sadness for a day, a week, a month. But don't stay there too long, because when we dwell too long, it brings us to madness, and it just brings us darker, darker, darker. And again, that's all right if that's where you're ready to go and you're willing to go. But those are the places, that some people go to, but if they don't have the bandwidth or the spiritual connection to their higher self and their spirit guides, that's when the hope is lost. Many times I've wanted to kill myself, and many times I have died. But that's what I realized, that I didn't need a physical death to change, to have a new rebirth. We are still in Scorpio season. Whenever you watch this, it's timeless, but utilize the Scorpio energy of the rebirth of the phoenix. Please. I know I don't ask you much, but I will ask you, please take some time out of your life and watch this movie and really listen. One of the reviews on the box said something about that this isn't just a movie, it's a gift, because you can watch it over and over again and you will always find something new, something more. And that's what you realize. Like, when you die, you take everything with you that you learned here. So it's time for us to really start figuring out who we are, because at the end of the day, we realize we're nobody. We're nobody. We become a name. We become a label or a title. We become a job. We become a spouse. We become a friend. But it's interesting. Right before we watched this, I don't know if it was the day before, maybe even that day, I don't remember, or a few days before, I don't remember. I just remember that I said to Ed, I'm like, I don't feel like Lula or Tallulah or Kelly. I said, I've had so many names, so many incarnations in this lifetime. I said, I just don't feel like I have a label or a title or a name. I just feel like I'm nobody. It was so interesting. So I didn't even think about that, even though this had been sitting in the cupboard. I hadn't really put it together. And then when we were watching it, I said, isn't that crazy? Like, I just said that. Like, there's a part where he talks about that. And I think that's when you start to realize that you're free. Because becoming nobody, you finally become who you are. And not the labels or the titles. Not what you look like on the outside, but who you are on the inside. I love you guys so much. Hang in there. We got a little bit more to go, okay? Next week, we got the full moon in Taurus. It's also, I know, the dark side of the moon, right? we've got these eclipses coming up. We're in eclipse season. Then we've got Thanksgiving, and then we've got the solar eclipse on, it's the new moon on December 4th. But I promise you, once we get past all that and the 12/12 portal comes, we are going to be in a whole new place, and next year is going to feel lighter and lighter. It's just going to get lighter. There are going to be some times, right? They're going to be tough. Of course they are. But they will get lighter. So stay in the mindset of it getting lighter. Stay in the hope. Stay in the love. Keep making magic. Stay in your white light. And stay tuned for that pick-a-pile reading. I know I haven't done a lot lately, but I've been working on my own stuff, so I don't know. I can never tell you anything from this moment forward. The only thing I know for sure is that they asked me to do this White Light Oracle pick-a-card reading from this 11/11 portal energy. I cannot tell you any more that's going to happen after that, okay? So till next time, beautiful souls, blessed be. I love you. Bye.